Captain Babcock served as the Operations Intelligence Officer for the Counter-Operational Integration Center, 3rd Corps Artillery, and Multinational Corps Iraq. He currently serves as the commander of the U.S. Army Recruiting Company in Los Angeles. Captain Babcock's many awards and decorations include the Bronze Star Medal, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, the Joint Service Commendation Medal, and the Army Commendation Medal. Please join me in extending a warm and welcome Captain Justin Babcock.
Thank you very much. Mayor Villaraigosa, distinguished guests, probably our most distinguished guests out there are veterans and their families. Before I start, I just want to say a couple of things. I get thanked an awful lot, and it means a lot to me. When I'm in uniform, people come up to me. Just this week, on 2 separate occasions, I had my coffee bought for me by someone that wanted to say thank you. But it didn't always used to be like that. And there's those of you out there that I want you to know that when people thank me, in my heart, I thank you. All right, so today is our day to remember those who have served and who are still serving. We remember those brave men and women who have served in places such as Gettysburg, Shiloh, Appomattox, San Juan Hill, the trenches of France, Argonne Forest, Anzio, Rome, the beaches of Normandy, the deserts of Africa, the cane fields of the Philippines, the rice paddies and jungles of Guam, Okinawa, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, places like Panama, Somalia, Haiti, Iraq, and Afghanistan. We remember that those who are part of our history and those who are presently serving to protect our future. Being a soldier was never an easy job, but the soldiers in today's all-volunteer service choose to serve a cause greater than themselves. Many made this decision knowing that they may be sent in harm's way. And for the better part of a decade, they've endured multiple tours, protecting us from danger and giving others the opportunity to live life in security. Over the last 10 years, our Army has proven itself in one of the most difficult environments that this nation has ever faced. Our leaders at every level have displayed unparalleled ingenuity, flexibility, and adaptability. Our soldiers have displayed mental and physical toughness, but most importantly, courage under fire. They've transformed the Army into the most versatile, agile, rapidly deployable, and sustainable strategic land force the world has ever known. I'm so proud to be part of that Army every day, but especially today, I'm proud that I have the opportunity to serve with these great men and women, the next greatest generation. On Veterans Day, thank you. On Veterans Day, I think about the 1.1 million men and women we have in uniform today who are part of that next greatest generation. These men and women live by a professional ethos that asserts that we will never accept defeat. I think about Sergeant First Class Leroy Petrie, learning to use a prosthetic hand, Colonel Greg Gadsden, learning to use prosthetic legs, and Captain Scott Smiley, learning to live without his eyesight. I think about a lone sentinel standing watch at the tomb of the unknown soldier during a hurricane. Many veterans like these do remarkable things like this every day. These soldiers don't see themselves as being brave or special. They just say they're doing their jobs. Many of our soldiers have deployed multiple times, and many who were injured during these deployments want to go back, not for a sense of revenge, but out of a sense of teamwork and duty. They fight for our security in an unsecure world, because that's what they promised they would do. Our democracy depends on the willingness of its finest men and women to step forward and serve, to dedicate themselves to a greater cause, the cause of protecting our democracy. For more than 2 centuries, the veterans of our nation have been willing to serve and to sacrifice for a country and a cause that they love more than their own lives, and this has not changed. The image of a veteran, however, has changed in the last 10 years. Almost half of those serving in the military right now are between the ages of 22 and 30. America has the largest population of young veterans since the Vietnam War. Many of these veterans are now college students. Many of them have families, wives, husbands, children, and parents who love and care for these brave men and women. Being an Army family is hard in its own way. It's never easy to send your son or daughter off to boot camp, to console your children when your wife or husband is deployed, or to feel the pain of seeing your loved one injured, or even hearing taps as they're put to rest. These families do this every day, and today we remember and recognize our veterans. We recognize their families who have stood behind them and have served and sacrificed in their own way. When we think of how much our veterans and their families have done for our nation, how do we honor their sacrifice, celebrate their service? How do we do these things in a meaningful way? How do we make a difference in the lives of the men and women who have made such a difference in our lives? As many as there are stories of brave actions of our veterans on the battlefield, there are stories of men and women who have chosen to make a difference in the lives of veterans. Moyna Michael is a shining example of these Americans who are generous with the time and concern for our nation's greatest assets, our veterans and their families. Moyna Michael, a 50-year-old professor at the University of Georgia who volunteered to support the war effort in World War I, became the driving force behind one of the most recognizable veterans benefits programs in the world, the Memorial Poppy. The idea for the Memorial Poppy came to Miss Michael on a Saturday morning in November 1918, 2 days before the armistice was declared at 11 o'clock on 11 November, after reading the poem In Flanders Fields by Canadian Army doctor Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae. McCrae wrote the simple poem moments after watching his friend Lieutenant Alex Helmer die on the battlefield in Belgium, and it became one of the most famous wartime poems ever written. Moyna, like many other Americans, had read this poem many times before, but on this particular day in November, she was transfixed by the last verse. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. At that moment, Miss Michael made a personal pledge to keep the faith and vowed always to wear a red poppy of Flanders fields as a sign of remembrance and as an emblem for keeping the faith with all who died and those who continue to serve. Later that day, Moyna bought 25 artificial red silk poppies with money donated to brighten up the YMCA headquarters. When she returned to duty later that evening, delegates from the YMCA Overseas War Secretaries Conference crowded around her asking for poppies to wear. Keeping one poppy for her coat collar, she gave out the rest to the enthusiastic delegates. Since this was the first group effort asking for poppies to wear in memory of all who serve and sacrifice, she considered this the first sale of the Memorial Poppy on November 9th, 1918. For Miss Michael, it was not enough just to sell and wear this symbol of service and sacrifice. Over the next couple years, she taught classes of disabled veterans at a university where she learned about their needs firsthand. The experience gave her the drive to widen the scope of the Memorial Poppy idea and develop it so that it could be used to help all servicemen who needed help for themselves and for their dependents. She was not alone in seeing this need. In 1922, the Veterans of Foreign Wars became the first vets organization to coordinate a nationwide distribution of poppies, and the poppy soon was adopted as the official memorial flower of the veterans of the foreign wars of the United States. Since then, buddy poppies have been assembled by disabled veterans who were paid for their work to provide them with some form of financial assistance, which makes hospital life more tolerable. It was known for veterans in veterans hospitals and in states' veterans' homes that every day would be Buddy Poppy Day. Furthermore, the assembly is often used as a therapy program to provide exercise for fingers and hands crippled by wounds, disease, and the effects of old age. For more than 75 years, millions of dollars in proceeds from distribution have been used for veterans' welfare or for the well-being of their needy dependents and the orphans of veterans. Today, multiple veterans organizations